It looks like I'm live. Yay. Hey, everybody. How's it going? It's Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology. I'm here to give you the full moon and Cancer forecast plus the next couple of weeks. And I decided I wanted to live stream this because I've found it impossible to do the video. And if I'm on live stream, I'm just going to keep going forward. So why not? Especially since the full moon is in less than 2 hours. Today is January 6th, 2023. Happy New Year. We made it to 2023. It's pretty wild. I was born in 83. Do you know what that means? I'm turning 40 soon. Woohoo! I've made it to almost 40. We're doing good, y'all. All right, so let's talk about this full moon because it's chaotic. It's also good. How can those two things be at the same time? Something that feels good, yet is a little disconcerting, right? So this is a lot like a soaking rain after we plant a seed. It's like, oh man, I mean, the storm is never fun, right? Like you get a lot of rain, but you know it's watering your fields. And that is the nature of this full moon in Cancer. Cancer is associated with nourishing yourself, nourishing others. It's nurturing. It is also feeling. It's emotional awareness. It is cardinal water. Think a rushing river. So we move emotion with a full moon in Cancer. That means the sun is in the opposing sign of Capricorn because the sun and the moon are opposite each other during a full moon. The sun in Capricorn it's got a little buddy with it, Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. And Mercury retrograde, when it's so close to the sun, is known as combust. It's not very clear communication, thinking. And in Capricorn, this is about the structure of our lives, about what makes us feel secure. So the Cancer part of this is the feeling. The Capricorn part of this is secure. Do we feel secure? What is the structure of our lives? And it's clear that that is changing. There is a connection to Uranus and Taurus with this full moon. The Cancer moon is sextile to Uranus. That is opportunity. Uranus is upheaval of values, Taurus, upheaval of what makes us comfortable. And we don't necessarily need to only stick with the word upheaval. Freedom is another Uranus term. So this is almost as if we are becoming emotionally aware of where we are changing our values, where we find comfort. And even it's very material with Uranus and Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign. So think material reality, the way we grow our food. Do we like cotton clothes or do we like polyester? I mean, I know that sounds really cheesy, but that is the nature of Taurus. It is really where we find comfort, what we value, time, money, what is it? So that is undergoing a change. The full moon in Cancer is like, yeah, this is a change. We've plowed up the fields. We're not even sure what's going to grow. It could be 5 different plants. It could be one. So it's a little disconcerting. It's not stable ground, but that is a good thing. It's good sometimes when the ground is not hard and stable and steady and compact, because it's hard to plant a seed in hard dirt. You can't really do it that easily. You have to plow it up, upheaval. Okay, so you see where this is going. So we are tapping into the need to change, the awareness that we need freedom here. We need revolution here, wherever Taurus is for you in your chart. That means the sun and Mercury are trine to Uranus. So it's not just our feelings that are becoming aware of it. It's okay, we need to go back and re-strategize. We see that this part of our lives is demanding change, is demanding innovation, is demanding revolution. So it's time to see that the rules of the game are changing. And so we have to change our strategy with how we play it. You can't keep playing a new game with old rules. I mean, it just doesn't work. So there is a sense of we're not moving forward yet. We're still kind of figuring it out. Like, okay, how do we move forward into this new free spirited life? Where do we want to be in the future? the innovative place we want to be, the new goals, the fresh feelings that we want in our lives. And I think we all are looking for something right now that is different than the last 6 years. And this full moon in Cancer really drives that home, I think. But we also have to figure out how to get there, keep it in mind. And okay, I can't keep doing things the same way as I was doing them. So this is why I say it is not just simply, okay, this is a good full moon, because it is, but it's also lacking stability, but in an opportunistic way. It is the dirt being plowed and made ready for something new to grow. The Sabian symbol, which is a word picture for every degree of the zodiac for this full moon in Cancer, is really great. And it kind of reflects, which I find they normally do, when you have a degree and you go read the Sabian symbol for it, somehow it encompasses all the other planets too. It's amazing. I love Sabian symbols. But this is the unfoldment of multi-level potentialities issuing from an original germ. So the key word is growth, but it's growth for the betterment of an evolution of our souls, of society, of the earth, contrasting what could come out of this seed, the unfoldment of multi-level potentialities. There's a lot of different potentials here, but it's all issuing from one seed. And I think that seed here is something that, is brand new for everybody. But the key word is growth. It's growth. Yay. Who doesn't like growth, right? But growth is uncomfortable. Yay. Even my little kid, I shouldn't say that. My daughter was talking about, she's grown. She's like 11 or 12. Don't quote me on that, but she's kind of a tween. And she has growing pains. And it's like, everyone wants to grow up, but like your limbs hurt while it's happening. And you don't know how tall you're going to be. That is the nature of this full moon in Cancer. Let me show you my orchid, which I thought was cool that I've got it around during a full moon in Cancer, because I've been nurturing it for like a year and I got it to bloom. And apparently they're kind of hard to get to bloom. Oh, isn't it beautiful? I didn't even know what it was going to look like. I couldn't remember. I got it. I've just been watering it, hoping that it will, bloom again, that I don't kill it. And it did. And this is the result of nurturing something that you may not know the outcome of. I've never grown an orchid before, taken care of one, but it's beautiful. And I was surprised. And I was overjoyed. And I was just like, how perfect. I have to put this in the shot. My beautiful little orchid that I managed to nurture, full moon in Cancer. Let me show you the chart. I want to show you what I'm talking about with this full moon and exactly how it looks on a chart. Even if it's a little intimidating. Some people don't like to see an astrology chart, but I like to kind of teach, that way if you look at it, you'll go, oh, wait, I remember Mandy saying this, hopefully. My whole goal is to empower everybody. Okay, here's Mercury retrograde, throwing all kinds of wacky wrenches in reality right now. And let me bring up the thing everyone knows is going on if you live in America, and the House of Representatives not being able to communicate or come to an agreement on who's going to be the leader of the Republican majority. It's disconcerting. It's a little interesting, though. It's changed. This hasn't happened in a while. In fact, it did happen in 1859. And if you'll go back and look, if you are into astrology, or you can just, trust me, Mercury was retrograde in Capricorn when it happened in 1859. Capricorn is government. Capricorn is structure. So also let's take that, the negotiations. Negotiation, why is it negotiation? Uranus and Taurus, what we value, that's changing. So we have to go renegotiate the trine. It's supportive. That negotiation is not just happening in reality, it's happening in us as well. What are we renegotiating? We're feeling into it. There's the sextile to the moon. So it's a really good example of how to take the macro things that are going on and go, wait a minute. Inside of me, I'm also negotiating what I want in my own life for my own future. And I'm not even sure who I want to win is kind of the idea. Which side of me wants to win, we don't know, but something's changing and we got to go back to the drawing board, negotiate, re-strategize. The rules of the game are changing. Okay, so that takes care of the sextile to Uranus and Mercury retrograde, but there's another thing throwing a little bit of a wrench in reality, if you will, and that is Mars retrograde in Gemini. Okay, so Mars is action, it's ego, it's what desires we have in reality. In Gemini, this becomes very heady, very lots of data, decisions. How do we communicate? That may not be going very well right now either. And it may feel as if, we're not totally static and paused, but we are paused. We see that things are changing, that we want to make changes, we want freedom, but there's still some research to do. That's Mars retrograde in Gemini. Gemini happens to be a Mercury ruled sign, so that kind of points right back at Mercury retrograde again. So yeah, things are unsure, and it doesn't just have to do with Uranus, which is upheaval. It has to do with Mars retrograde and Mercury retrograde. All of these things make it impossible to kind of get clarity, even though that is becoming more apparent. Okay, so the other things we have going on is Venus in Aquarius, and Venus in Aquarius is applying to a supportive trine with Mars. So you have the feminine and the masculine coming into this point where they want to work together. What we love, what is fair, receptivity, that is Venus, is working with how we take action, the decisions we need to make. In Aquarius, this is our future goals. This is society at large and how we all work together. So it's not just the full moon, it's not just Uranus, it's not just Mercury retrograde. There is this connotation of the society at large and how we see the future. So Venus in Aquarius has our minds on what do we want to be? And astrology always looks at the future, right? So, every time I get on a video, I'm going to be talking about future. But in Aquarius is uniquely associated with future selves and also large groups of people in society. And Venus brings balance there. And trine to Mars, it's balance and action at the same time. It's also this is my desire. I have clarity on it. Now, the Venus trine to Mars isn't exact for a few days, but it's beginning to get closer at this full moon. And the other thing is we've got Jupiter in Aries. Jupiter is, kind of like a crusader at this point. It's really, I'm going to be a warrior for truth. And also, I'm going to get what I want. Aries is desire. It is action. Jupiter expands wherever it is. Jupiter finds the truth of wherever it is. Autonomy, authenticity, what my true desires are. It's kind of going for it. Yet there's still this reticence with the Mars and Mercury retrogrades, and things feel a little unstable. So, yes, good full moon. Yes, becoming aware of where we're changing, but there's still some work to do. What rules work in astrology? That's Saturn. Saturn is work, it's rules, it's structure. It's also in Aquarius. Saturn is not aspecting anything. Saturn's like, hey, I'm just chilling in my home sign, doing the work, and also making sure you guys do the work. I mean, do I think Saturn does that? No, but that's the idea of what the archetypal significance of Saturn is. Master this. What are we mastering? How society works together, how we innovate our future, where we're going as humans. And there is work to do there. So there's still some work that needs to be done. We never get done doing work, but this is specifically in the Aquarius part of our charts. Okay, so let's move forward. I'll give you a preview of the next couple of weeks. This full moon is definitely a culmination. But the next few weeks are going to be very interesting. There's several reasons why. And typically, we get into after full moon, things start winding down. We do have to make a few adjustments, but things wind down to the next new moon. But nothing's really winding down except for the moon. Okay. And that is because right off the bat, let me pull up my notes so I have it all together. Right off the bat is a Mercury cazimi. Mercury comes together with the sun. Let me get the exact moment of that. On January 7th at 6:56 a.m. A Mercury cazimi is known as an audience with the king. And that is because it is an exact conjunction. And then there is this message that we may get. This is how the strategy may need to go. Okay. This is the way we need to structure our reality. This is the boundary we need. So, with that cazimi, you could see that the House of Representatives coming to consensus there. Also, this trine to Uranus is still active, and it will be because in the next day or two after this, Mercury retrograde will then trine Uranus exactly. So this upheaval, this change, this push for freedom, this awareness that things are changing, and so we have to change the way we play the game, keeps coming up even through the whole weekend. So, I say maybe we get a thing, in the House of Representatives that seems like, okay, we might come to a decision, but there is a chance Uranus is unpredictable, that something, a curveball, an unexpected event is thrown in there. And that includes in your own life. So it's like, okay, you did this kind of work over the full moon where you really were aware of, okay, this is my value, and it may be new and it may feel a little uncomfortable, but I'm really excited to see what blooms out of it. And then something comes in and says, oh, wait, okay, I thought that would work, but I need to do this one more step. That is January 6th, 7th, 8th. We're talking through the weekend that is active. So I like to take advantage of Mercury trine Uranus. It is a moment to change your mind. It's a moment to change things in reality. I would say that starts today. That starts right now. The other thing is the moon will be in Leo. It'll oppose Venus, and this is going into Sunday. It'll trine Jupiter. I like this. I think Sunday morning seems to have some aha moment to it. But then, we also have a sextile to Mars, and so action may happen. I think that's more like a decision becoming more clear that we might have to make. What else is there on this date? I just want to make sure that I didn't, it's opposite Venus, trine Mars. Yeah, I think that's about it for the weekend. But I will say, as we go into Monday, the moon will then square Uranus. Now, this is, this can be a little uncomfortable because it's like, oh no, things are changing, and it may not be that fun, but it's brief. I would say this is probably the more uncomfortable moment with Uranus, with the whole change in values that we have coming up. It's probably anytime the moon squares, opposes Uranus, it's like an emotional adjustment that has to be made. Okay, so we're Monday, January 9th. The moon opposite Saturn can also be a little uncomfortable, a little heavy. That's Monday night. Like, oh, I got all this work to do. It's not fun, especially moon and Leo. Leo likes to have fun and be creative, but it's also necessary. I mean, you have to sometimes go, okay, I have this responsibility. And then, the Venus trine to Mars is active pretty much all of Monday. I would take advantage of it. Monday seems like a day where things can get done, but Monday night's like, too much responsibility. Okay, I'm done with it. Can we just move on? So that may be the feeling there. And then January 11th, I would say January 10th seems kind of quiet. We do have Mercury coming into a square with Chiron. That's a little sensitive. It's just an awareness of a place where we may need to do a little healing work, especially on self-acceptance, especially on what we want, how to make it happen in reality, Capricorn, how to build. It's a little uncomfortable. I'll say that's the 10th through the 11th. But then the 12th comes around and something really exciting happens. And this is where I say we're not going to have this winding down, because Mars goes direct. Mars is in Gemini. Thoughts, communication, decision making, data gathering, even the way we listen is a Gemini thing. Mars going direct is like, okay, I'm about to let the rubber band go. But you can't yet, because Mercury is still retrograde. It's just one little piece of reality seems to get moving. And it's like, okay, all right. Now that I downloaded all of the documents, let me go through them. Mars retrograde in Gemini took a long time to download all that stuff. Okay, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. It's like, wow, this is a big file and it's going to take forever. Yeah, it's been since October that Mars has been retrograde. October of 2022, we're in a new year, Mars is still retrograde. This is why January 12th into the 13th is going to be extremely significant. And I think a moment where we can direct ourselves forward. I'm just looking to make sure I did. The moon's in Virgo that whole time, which is pretty nice because Virgo is discernment. The only thing about that is the moon, let's see, is this on the 11th? I think the moon will square Mars on the 11th, which can be a little frustrating. Something to note. It is brief though. Then Mars goes direct and it's like, okay, I can move forward. If even just very slowly. Mars will go very slowly. It's not something that's moving very fast right now, but it will start to give way to movement in reality. Now we get to look at my notes. The sun sextiling Neptune, January 12th. By the way, if you need to look at what date I'm looking at here, there it is, January 12th. The sun will sextile Neptune, and I'm looking at this even maybe with the moon in Virgo, because it'll oppose Neptune, something that seems like we can really tap into imagination and intuition during this time. So the sun in Capricorn is material reality, how we build things. An opportunistic sextile to Neptune. Neptune is imagination, it's spirituality, it is the muses. So this is like, okay, bring a little of this imagination into reality. You know, maybe you don't need to use steel beams. Maybe you can use this. I love to give cheesy examples. Why not? Why not? All right, let's see. What's the next big thing we got going on here? Moon in Libra will trine Mars. I mean, that's pretty cool for Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. Oh my goodness. Okay. So by the way, Friday the 13th superstition is crazy. Don't be superstitious about it. I mean, you're welcome to if you want to, but I think it's like based on when the some like, what is that group of people? Knights Templar. They were like raided on a Friday the 13th, and then that's how the whole superstition got started. This Friday the 13th looks pretty cool. I mean, to be honest with you. What we got is first the moon opposing Jupiter, big emotions. The moon's in Libra, relationships, people. This looks like it could be a very social day. We really want to get out, talk to people. We want to be networking. I think it's really nice to have the moon trine Mars as it goes direct. And then it'll trine Venus as well, like right after. So Friday the 13th is a good day. Don't be too superstitious about it. I think it's gonna be great. Then Saturday gets interesting, if you want to know. And that is because Venus starts to come into a square with Uranus. Okay. If you've listened to me talk so far, Uranus is change, upheaval, revolution. A square is tension. Okay, so this isn't like the full moon being like, yeah, change, it's gonna be good. This is more like, okay, how do I make my goals if all of this ground underneath me is constantly moving? So this can be a little tense. It can be, I think we've had a lot of make or break with regard to relationship recently. And I do think that this could be one of those. The moon's in Libra, which is relationships ruled by Venus and Aquarius. So this could be a decision that has to be made with regards to your own self-worth and relationships. That could be a relationship with a job or a relationship with a person. You catch my drift there. Something's changing and we need to change our goals to suit our kind of new value system that we got going on. So Saturday the 14th, I would look, it could be a curveball. You never know. Just something to note. And even into Sunday, I think, right? No, it kind of passes by Saturday night. So that's good. And then the moon's in Scorpio. Wah, wah, wah. Scorpio moon can be kind of hard because it's a dive into the shadow of your soul. We have to contend with things like power, disempowerment when the moon is in Scorpio, how we share ourselves with people. So I think this is just a continuation of, is this working out for me or do I need to let it go? Things are changing. So I'm going to give, Saturday and Sunday more of a little bit of a tense kind of feeling. Friday the 13th looks a little better than the 14th and 15th, which is why I say don't just like, don't write off Friday the 13th altogether. Why would you? Okay, here's the thing about the moon in Scorpio. It's going to make something called, and this is on Monday, a T-square with Uranus, upheaval, change, revolution, and Venus, relationship, love, money. Again, a continuation of this, something has to change. I need to figure out what is good for me. And the sun is getting closer to Pluto. Pluto can be ending. So I do feel like this is, okay, this situation hasn't worked out for 6 years or 7 years or whatever. And still I keep hitting my head against the wall and I can't do it anymore. We've got to change something. So we're going to give next weekend maybe an endings kind of a flare. Okay. I mean, it's not so awesome, I don't think, but especially if I view this through the lens of the third quarter square of the moon, which is Saturday night, it does look like we've got to make a decision. We have some help. Mars is direct. That's good. We've kind of done the research on how we feel about everything. So we got to make a choice around this time. And that's all there is to it. Especially since right after this T-square, the moon will also square Saturn, which does demand mastery. All right. It's like, hey, you got to make a decision now. So do it. Let me make sure there's nothing I'm missing here. Yeah. 17th, the moon will be in Sagittarius. Much better feeling when it comes to our emotions. The moon in Sagittarius is much more optimistic. However, we're looking at Tuesday the 17th. It will oppose Mars. This can be frustration, inflammation, yelling, just depends, especially with Jupiter in Aries. It will trine Jupiter in Aries. And this is like, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. And why do I say that? It's because this thing here, Mercury, is stationing direct that day. And it's stationing direct in a quincunx. Here's some fancy astrology for you. This is called a yod, the finger of God. And that becomes very active around this Tuesday, the 17th moment, as well as the moon being trine to Jupiter. So a yod is, okay, I don't really understand what's going on here, but if I look to this planet, it's going to point me in the right direction. That is Mars stationing direct at 8 degrees of Gemini. It's still at 8 degrees. It's stationed direct like a week ago, and it's still sitting at that degree. So it's moving very slow. So where Gemini is in your chart around Tuesday the 17th will be very significant. Okay, something to look at. Things still turn it up a notch, because after this, yeah, Tuesday into Wednesday, like it's like the whole next weekend and like into midweek. It's not, I'm not gonna, like, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom by any means, but I am saying there are decisions to make. There may be ties to cut with people, and it just keeps building to Wednesday when we have the moon opposing Mars. We have this like, I'm going to do what I want to do kind of situation, and the sun hitting Pluto. Pluto is karma. Okay. Pluto is death and rebirth. Pluto is transformation. It's the Tower card. And there is a moment where it's like, boom, we got to be done with this because the new moon's coming and we got to set new intentions. So yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't really let up. I think Friday the 13th by comparison is better than the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. Like, there's just things to contend with during this time. And maybe it's plans we're having to make, or people that we're having to say, if you can't make time for me, then I can't keep counting on you. That kind of a thing. What am I worth? Is this worth my investment? Lots of these things going on. Now, the other thing is, as we move towards the new moon, which will be in Aquarius, we get closer to things being all direct, because Uranus turns direct on the 22nd. Let's see. I'm just looking. Yeah. So the biggest change here is the sun moving into Aquarius Thursday night. Oh, actually Friday early morning in the central US. That'll be a nice change, I think. Even though it's the sign Saturn's in right now, it's more airy, it's more bird's eye view than Capricorn. Capricorn is kind of like, get down to business. Aquarius is like, let's look at the future. So that's kind of nice. Moon hits Mercury. That may be a time to tap into, this is what we need to do. It'll trine Uranus. So yeah, I think after the Sun Pluto conjunction, Thursday into Friday it gets pretty good. And we're getting to a point where we can feel like we want to set new intentions for the new moon. We're completing this moon phase by Friday the 20th. And then here's where we get, and this is something I wanted to note because this is going to be extremely interesting, but also completely different. We got the moon hitting Pluto just before the new moon. We've got Venus conjoined to Saturn. That is a commitment. There is a commitment that we make at this next new moon. And it happens even before the new moon. We really say, I want to empower myself, and I'm making a commitment to this future goal right here, right now. And then Uranus goes direct at almost exactly the time of the new moon. And then all planets are direct. This is almost like the real new year. Okay, like, don't make your resolutions now. There is so much to go through. There's so much more to be thought about. There's so many more plans that we need to re-strategize. So many more things we have to become aware of. So yeah, I think the real start to the new year is as this Venus-Saturn conjunction happens, we make a commitment to our future goals, and then we can plant the seed when the new moon hits Aquarius, January 21st. And then Uranus goes direct. It's pretty nice. From here, boy, do things look completely different. And they just keep getting more and more hopeful from here on out. We do have some things that come throughout the year that I'm going to touch on when I do my year ahead video, which I may do tonight. I don't know. I made it. All right, everybody. I'm going to throw this thing up on YouTube. I'm probably either going to do the year ahead thing tonight or in the morning. That'll be up on YouTube as well. I may go live with it. I may not. That'll even be longer. This was an hour and it was a full moon in Cancer. But watch for that. Ecstaticastrology.com is my website. You can book there. And I don't require prepayment for booking. I think that's like kind of jarring to some people. I just don't like to, I like to send the video and that's when we do our exchange. And I think, people, especially if they're like nervous about booking, just, book it. Okay. Ask me about something later, but I don't it's really easy to book with me. Just go on and pick a time on the website that it says I'm available. And is there anything else? Oh yeah, I have an article out in OPA magazine. It is the Evolving Astrologer is the name of the magazine. I really love it. It's a transit article on the next 3 months. So go read it because I even went over this in that article. Anything else I want to say to you? No? All right. All my love. Happy full moon in Cancer. Wishing you all the best. See you soon.